Finally, we are back. Hello everyone, welcome to the brand new DTM season 2024. We are celebrating 40 years of DTM. How exciting is that? And we definitely are thrilled to get started here in the new season. We've got blue skies, so what a perfect start into the very first racing weekend. And the man to beat is this young man over here, Thomas Preining, who's already sitting in the car, all eager to get started in qualifying. He's our reigning champion and he's the man to beat. As I said already, and it's going to be very, very tough because all in all, we've got 20 eager drivers. We've got 7 different brands and it's going to be an exciting season. So let's get started. Here's the very first qualifying and here are your commentators. Enjoy.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. 6 months since we last turned a wheel in anger on a competitive race weekend in the DTM. A phenomenal weekend it was as well for Thomas Preining, who became our 2023 champion. His first title and the first title for an Austrian driver. And he is back, as are most of the top 10 from last year, to do it all again. It is a quality lineup of drivers that we have got. And they come here for the first of 8 weekends of DTM. Oschersleben this weekend, the Lausitzring in about a month's time. Zandvoort is our third destination of the season, our first non-German circuit of the year. Then to the wonderful Norrisring, the street circuit in July before the Nürburgring in August, the Sachsenring, phenomenal circuit in September. The Red Bull Ring in Austria is the penultimate weekend of the season in late September, and then it all ends at Hockenheim on the 19th and 20th of October. There he is then, your reigning champion, on a hat-trick because he won both races at Hockenheim to wrap up the title. In fact, he wrapped up the title in qualifying on Sunday morning with the lap of all laps. Mirko Bortolotti thought he'd done it, and then 0.06 of a second quicker to snatch pole and seal the title went Preining. Then he won the race. There is Olaf Amantai, who took him to the title, and they're back together this year. A new teammate, though, for Thomas Preining in his second season. Ianjan Guan is back as a Porsche driver in DTM, but with Manthey this year, replacing Dennis Olsen. And a new team for that man as well, Marco Wittmann. He's due some good fortune and a competitive car. He's with Schubert, one of 3 champions in the Schubert Motorsport lineup. Nicky Tim is another new name, sort of, on the grid. He has had a couple of weekends in DTM a couple of years ago, but this will be his first full campaign. He replaces Frank Pereira and is going to join SSR Performance in the Lamborghini alongside Mirko Bortolotti, the driver that finished second in the championship. 3-time champion René Rast in his second season as a BMW driver, already a winner for BMW at the Red Bull Ring last season, and his form at the end of last year was very good, so surely he's going to be a major factor this season. We've mentioned Mirko Bortolotti. Great to have him back as well. He's got, like René Rast, a busy campaign because he's also competing in the World Endurance Championship in hypercars this year as the Lamborghini factory driver, but delighted to have Mirko back. His third season, 4th, 2nd in the championship in his first 2 years. Can he get to the top of the step? That'll be his ultimate goal. And Christian Engelhardt is a driver that will be very happy to be back here at Oschersleben because he was one of our race winners last year, albeit with a Porsche. Now a Lamborghini driver after many years as a Porsche factory driver, but he did drive a Lamborghini at the end of last season at Hockenheim, and he did get on the podium. Jack Aitken is back as well for a second season of the DTM, the British driver, also competing in the IMSA Sports Car Championship this year, and he was on the podium in his first weekend of DTM here just about 11 months ago at a later start to the season last year, and also put it on the front row of the grid. He's back with the Emil Frey Racing squad in their Ferrari, the Swiss team. They've also got young Thierry Vermeulen as their second driver as well. And there is the 2022 champion, Sheldon van der Linde. Still not a bad year last year, 4th place, but when you've been the champion, 4th place is never good enough. So he'll be looking to have a better season with Schubert back once again, and he's, of course, teammates with René Rast and also with Marco Wittmann this year. And there is Luca Engstler back for a second season in DTM, but not as an Audi driver now, as a Lamborghini driver. Lamborghini is the brand which has boosted the most over the off-season in terms of greater numbers, but Luca, a very talented young driver, got in the points several times last season with the best finish of 7th. Let's see how he gets on here at Oschersleben. So it's a fantastic lineup of drivers that we've got from 10 different nationalities, champions and race winners all the way through the grid. Free practice yesterday was mighty close, and they got very close actually to qualifying lap record pace. The weather's warmer today, there's less wind, maybe even quicker. And there you can see the two orange and black McLarens coming through. McLaren joining us full-time this season as an additional brand. We've had a McLaren in DTM before, but only as a guest drive. And it's the Dürr Motorsport team from Frankfurt, which have got Clemens Schmidt, familiar to DTM, the Austrian driver, and a brand new driver on the grid in DTM, Ben Dürr, just 19 years of age. He performed pretty well, I thought, yesterday in free practice on his debut. So they go out for what's going to be 20 minutes of qualifying to set the grid for the first race of the day, first race of the weekend. They do it all again tomorrow, another qualifying session into another race. No major rule changes except for the fact that the top 10 in this session will have to carry the same tyres they qualify on into the start of the next race. Previously it was just the top 5, now it's the top 10, but otherwise the format is the same. And before we get the cars up to speed, just to say apologies for being a little bit late. It was an incident at the end of the GT Masters qualifying session which saw some barrier destruction going on, not for the first time this weekend. So it's been a disrupted timetable. So due to the barrier repairs from the previous session, we're just about 55 minutes late getting the session underway. So the drivers have had to be sat patiently waiting to go, waiting to get the job done, but remaining focused. So we're here at Oschersleben, 3.6 kilometers long. We're sort of in the northern Midlands regions of Germany, in between Hanover and Berlin. The nearest city is Magdeburg. It's a clockwise circuit, just over 3.6 kilometers long, or 2.2 miles long, 14 turns, lots of mid-speed corners. There's a couple of longish straights, but they're by no means the longest straights on the calendar. And it's almost like a big go-kart circuit, this. Qualifying will be key. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake on, although DTM drivers can and do overtake anywhere. And when asked about it, Kelvin van der Linde said, well, you can overtake here, just not necessarily with all 4 wheels on the track. So we'll see what happens later on, but qualifying will be key. To talk you through it then, I'm Chris Hartley. Hello, welcome to 2024. And here in the commentary box at Oschersleben alongside me, once again, it is good morning to Brian Oliver.
Morning, Chris. Good morning to everybody who has joined us from around the world watching this historic series in its 40th year. A different kind of day to yesterday. It was blooming cold yesterday and windy. The sun is shining today and we are ready for a packed program of racing. We've got DTM, GT Masters, GT4, Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany. But of course, everybody is here to see DTM. The Mercedes MGs were looking very rapid yesterday. A couple of teams that were struggling, the AB Sportline Audis, they were looking for pace. They were struggling a little bit yesterday, and certainly Kelvin van der Linde was pretty vocal about that. Also, Emil Frey Racing, they were looking for a little bit more speed as well. So a lot of the teams have been burning the midnight oil, scratching their heads, calculating the numbers. They've got their setups now. It's all locked in. 16.5 minutes to get a place on the grid. Of course, as already mentioned, Oschersleben circuit, not the easiest place to overtake on. So they really want a good grid position for this race this afternoon.
Mirko Bortolotti then, eyes focused, those steely blue Italian eyes on the prize this year. Lamborghinis and Porsches both went well here last season. Thomas Preining got Porsche a pole position on the Sunday, led the race until the team got a penalty, and he ended up finishing in 3rd place. But it's another Porsche driver that won on Sunday, Christian Engelhardt. But it was Lamborghini that won on the Saturday, not Mirko Bortolotti, but his teammate Franck Pereira, who qualified the sister SSR Performance Lamborghini on pole position and then won the race. The first ever victory for Lamborghini in DTM came here last season. However, yesterday, having been pretty poor in qualifying last season, Mercedes were on top form. The best qualifying for any Mercedes driver here last year, and last year was the first time the DTM had been here for 8 years, was Maro Engel on Sunday. He qualified 8th, and he was the best. They were all mid-pack or lower, but yesterday, Mercedes were quickest in both free practice sessions. Maro Engel for his new team this year, Team Winward, with a 1 minute 21.951. Now the qualifying lap record around here is a 121.347, so he's only 6 tenths behind that. in free practice. They'll have better tyres on for today, and the conditions seem better for quicker times. Thomas Preining, incidentally, is the qualifying lap record holder here. So Maro Engel was quickest in free practice 1. Sheldon van der Linde in the Schubert Motorsport BMW was second, but 0.3 of a second behind him with a 122.2. Jack Aitken in the Ferrari in free practice 1 went very well for Emil Frey Racing, 122.305, fraction slower than Sheldon van der Linde, and he was third quickest. And then we had Arjun Maini and Lucas Stoltz, both in Mercedes, in the top 5 as well. And then Arjun Maini, with a great lap towards the end of free practice 2, went quickest in that session, 122.538. Not quite as quick as we'd seen in the first free practice session, but Arjun looked great yesterday, 4th and 1st in the 2 practice sessions. Lucas Stoltz was up there again in 2nd. Lucas Auer made it a Mercedes 1-2-3 in that second free practice session. It's a different day. You can never really tell what's going on until after this session, where everybody is at in terms of their true pace. But several teams, including Emil Frey Racing, have said, like, we feel we've done a good job over the winter, but you just don't know what everybody else is up to until they show their true potential in qualifying. But certainly yesterday, Brian, the Mercedes were really impressive, weren't they?
Oh, they really were. And really good to see Arjun Maini up there. He was pretty fed up at the end of last year, I think. He was very frustrated by a lack of pace, but he certainly made up for it. Whatever he's been doing over the winter, well, keep on doing that, chap. We're well over a quarter of the way through the qualifying session. We're getting on for halfway. It's looking very chilled at the moment. Of course, the circuit is going to get quicker and quicker as this session goes on, as the track heats up, as more rubber is laid down. So the quickest time is likely to come towards the end of the session, but it really is a game of roulette doing this when you're sat in the pits, and we've seen it already in GT Masters quali, we've seen it in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany quali as well. The drivers leaving it to the last minute, then a red flag coming out, and suddenly the grid is all mixed up. And this is a circuit that does seem to court red flags. We've seen quite a few in various sessions, so leaving it till late in this qualifying session to put in your fastest lap is a bit of a risky strategy, but if it works, it can really pay off and you could be at the front of the grid.
Brave. Do you see the sticker on the side of Thomas Preining's car? Don't talk to the bus driver during quali.
Yes.
All right, then. He's a bit better than the bus driver, I would say. Nobody has set a lap time yet. Not one of them. They've been out on the track, but they've not completed a full lap time. It's all looking chilled down at Schubert Motorsports, the team run by Torsten Schubert, local team to this circuit. They have, they reckon, 1,000 guests coming over the course of the weekend. So it's going to be busy down at Schubert in the garage and in hospitality. There is René Rast then. 3 championship titles in 2017, 2019 and 2020. By his standards, it wasn't a great year last year. He was only 5th in the championship, although he did miss a round, of course, due to his Formula E commitments. Lucas Stoltz, the last 2 seasons, has finished 6th in the championship and been a race winner on each occasion. He's, as we often say, the stealth bomber of DTM. He goes completely under the radar, but he always appears there at the end, somewhere near, if not at the front. So don't rule out the German driver either. There is Thomas Preining then, looking like he is getting ready and poised to be released out onto the circuit. But you're absolutely right, Brian. It always makes me nervous when drivers leave it to the last minute to put any lap times in, because it's only going to take one driver to put it off. That then brings out the yellow flags, or worse, and ruins your lap, and then you lose time. You lose that lap time. If there's a delay, you have to go back to the pitch. You lose all the time it takes you to build up to speed on another couple of outlaps as well.
Yes, and I think maybe some of the drivers are thinking about now getting a banker lap in, especially there's a Dürr Motorsport McLaren coming out, and as already mentioned, Thomas Preining, who has elected not to take the #1 this year. He said, that was last year, I am no longer the champion, it's a level playing field. And you can see René Rast getting the BMW sideways in the pit lane as he comes out of the garage.
Poor old Ben Dürr, 19 years of age, he's still kart racing in the National Championships in 2021, 3 years ago. Has been a runner-up in GT4, but he leaves the pits first. He looks in the mirror. Who does he see right behind him? The champion. Who does he see behind that? The 3-time champion. But just focus on your own job. But he did a good job yesterday, as we were saying in free practice. He wasn't too far away from the pace, and it's of course a new team to DTM. They're an experienced team, the Frankfurt-based team, Dürr Motorsport, but they're new to DTM. He's completely new to DTM, but they've got Clement Schmidt with plenty of DTM experience to help lead the team. But he's struggling a bit health-wise this week, because he was here testing a week ago, felt some discomfort. while he was driving. Went to hospital to get checked out, and they found that he got an issue with his appendix, so he's had to have an operation on his appendix. But remarkably, a few days later, here he is out in action here this weekend, driving these ferocious 550-plus brake horsepower GT3 cars at speeds of, well, around here up to about 230, 240 kilometres an hour. They can do 260 kilometres an hour, and somehow he's going to try and lead the team through their first weekend. He did joke that he was going to try and do a Carlos Sainz and have an operation on his appendix, then come back and win a race, as Carlos did in the Australian Grand Prix. But fine effort for him to be out there at all. There's Arjun Maini going through the shot then in the dark blue and yellow Mercedes with Hubert Haupt's team for the third season running. It's his fourth year in total in DTM. Has been on the DTM podium back in the final round at Norris Ring in 2021. But consistency will be good for Arjun and for the team. Third season together for them, and they look very, very solid yesterday. On board then with Thomas Preining, as you said, Brian, he's opted not to take the #1 because he says, I only consider myself to be the champion for a couple of months after the title. Once we get to January the 1st, we're all level again. I'm not the champion anymore. I was the champion last year. I'm not the hunted. I'm just one of the drivers hunting for the trophy itself.
It's all about the mind games, isn't it? It's talking yourself up, not hyping yourself up. And he's trying to give out a message, trying to stay calm, trying to keep himself level-headed, feet on the ground. And just seeing this as a whole new season, a blank sheet of paper. But in the back of his mind, he knows, I have that championship ticked off. I will forever be known as a DTM champion.
So, first title for Porsche in the DTM. Manto took the team's title. Preining became the first Austrian to win the Drivers' Championship. But 18 races around this circuit. The first DTM race to be held at Oschersleben was back in 2000. The most successful brands here have been Audi and Mercedes, who've had 5 wins each. BMW have had 4 wins. Lamborghini won last year. Opel back in the day had 2 wins here. And Porsche last year with a victory as well.
Just for your info, there is a group of 3 cars around turn 13, so possible slowdown before the push lap, just for your info.
Well, at least we know he's doing a push lap. Traffic, an issue here. It's not the biggest circuit they race at, is it? So getting that space, very important.
Can I just say, Ben Durr on provisional pole position. There we go. Let's get it in while we can. 1 minute 26.972. Lucas Stoltz goes quicker now then. He was the first one across the line. Great to see Maro Engel's new livery. Now, he's going to take some getting used to this. He's not in the Mamba liveried car. He's switched teams, so he's not run by Landgraf anymore. That's Lucas Auer in the bright yellow and green Mamba liveried Mercedes, still number 22, Lucas Auer. But a change of team, a change of livery, and a change of number for Maro Engel this year. As he moves to Team Winward, and he's got the number 130 in a different livery because we're celebrating 130 years of Mercedes Motorsport since their first venture into motor racing in the Paris to Rouen automobile race back in 1894. So that's the reason for the number 130 on Maro Engel's car. It's, of course, our 40th anniversary in the DTM, 1984, Zolder at the first ever DTM race. Harold Gross led a BMW 1-2-3-4 to take the first victory in DTM. And it's also the 25th anniversary of the most successful team that's currently on the grid, Abt Sportsline. Right, Lucas Stoltz's time has just been beaten, but these times are kind of largely irrelevant at the moment, unless we have any issues on track, because they're only in the 125s. We should be looking down really into the low 121s, I think we're going to get down to today, or maybe even a bit better, depending on the track conditions. Lucas Stoltz, there you go, straight into the 123.2s. That is already a decent pace. It's got to go quicker than that still. Next lap will be the 1, I reckon. And if they're going to do this in 2 stints, they're going to have a very quick turnaround in the pits, aren't they? By the time they come back in after a couple of quick laps, go back out, it's going to be very tight. We did see yesterday in practice, Brian, they were managing to get, when they were doing quali runs, 2 quick laps, weren't they?
Yes, but it was a cooler track, cooler air temperatures. But yeah, they were getting certainly 2 good quick laps out of it.
Lucas Stoltz's best first sector time on this lap now is a 29.696. That is better than anything we saw in Sector 1 yesterday. Arjun Maini's a quick first sector as well. Christian Engelhardt's the first to go over the line and said a proper lap time, though. 1 minute 21.878. That I don't think will be good enough for pole position, but it's not a bad start. Arjun Maini then through the second sector with an absolute best second sector. Lukas Stoltz is behind him on the road and does a personal best in the second sector, but Miney is on for provisional pole here. He's never had a pole position in DTM. He's got a real chance this weekend. That's nice and smooth. Takes it to the line over the curbs and through he comes. Does he go quickest? Yes, he does, with a time of 1 minute 21.571. It still might not be enough though. Lukas Stoltz to watch out for in the background. Next he comes through and goes second quickest, 121.734. Engelhardt's 121.8. He's down to third now. Luke Rexler, good effort, 121.9. He's currently fourth quickest, ahead of 2022 champion Sheldon van der Linde, and a great effort by the two McLarens currently, 6th and 7th with Schmidt and Durr.
4.5 minutes remaining of this session. The times are going to start tumbling now as every lap is getting quicker and quicker. Arjen Miney, Lukas Stoltz, so once again Mercedes AMG proving to be quick. But it's Mirko Bortolotti who now jumps to the top, so starting to show his hand, a 121.569 for Mirko Bortolotti.
Oh, he's absolutely dominated that. 0.02 of a second quicker than Arjen Miney. How tight can you get? Engelhardt, fourth place, currently not quick enough through the second and third sectors of the lap. Thierry Vermeulen has just done the absolute best third sector. It's his best lap of the session, puts him 6th ahead of Nicky Tim, who also improves in 7th. Bortolotti is slower by about 6-7 tenths through the first sector, so this isn't going to be another quick lap. That is probably it for him with just 3 3/4 minutes to go, and it might just be enough. Could we have, like we did on Saturday last year at Oschersleben, a Lamborghini on pole position? Bortolotti was sort of thereabouts, but not spectacular in terms of his pace yesterday. He didn't need to be. It's Saturday where you need to be quick. What about Sheldon van der Linde, though? Through he goes, 4th place, second row of the grid. Not bad at all. Top BMW for now. Maximilian Paul has done a personal best first sector. As through they go, and Jack Aitken goes to the top of the times in the Ferrari. No, absolute best. Whoa, almost off into the barriers goes the two-time DTM champion Marco Wittmann, but Jack Aitken, 121.465. He got on the front row of the grid here last year, and he is on, at the moment, pole position by 1/10 of a second. Max Poe was on a good lap as well. He's got off in the Powell Motorsport Lamborghini, and with only 2 minutes 45 seconds left on the clock, that's going to be a yellow flag zone. We might not see any more improvements.
Wow, look who's last though in 20th place, Mauro Engel. I think he was waiting to the end of the session, and is that someone else enter the barrier as well?
Performance,
yes.
Lamborghini has gone off.
Is that Nicky Tim?
Nicky Tim, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
That's at turn 2, isn't it?
So 2 cars into the barrier, and I think, well, it looks like Mauro Engel has improved a little just as the flag came out. So he's up into 17th, but that's a lot further back when you consider he was quickest yesterday in free practice. So that's exactly what we said, a yellow flag or a red flag in the latter part of the stages. Suddenly, Thomas Preining, our defending champion, in 16th place with 2 minutes remaining of this session. He's going to struggle to get towards the front of the pack. From 16th place, no improvement like to come from there. Quickest man, Jack Aitken, though, a 121.465. He said this morning they'd been burning the midnight oil, calculating the figures. Well, their calculations have worked. The red flag is now out. Less than 2 minutes remaining. I would suggest this is the grid for this afternoon.
Nicky Tim had just gone 5th quickest before the start of the next lap. Off he went, so that was a good effort from him in the second SSR Performance Lamborghini. But he's the one that's brought about the red flag. So that time will go away from him. So Jack Aitken on, at the moment, provisional pole position, but it's hard to see that changing unless they reset the time. But even so, most people had done their 2 quick laps and were then starting to go slower. It seems you can carry a bit of speed into the start of the 3rd lap, but then it falls away from you in the middle of the lap. So on course for a second career pole position in DTM. He's a happy chappy as well. As you said, they were really pleased with how the car went in the first free practice session yesterday. They tried some stuff out. It didn't work in free practice too. So they had a late night going through all of the data, and Jack said we kind of went down a rabbit hole, went round and round in circles, trying to figure out what was best. And we've just gone with the changes that we thought might work. They did. They worked. You're on pole position.
And interesting, that pole position has come without setting an absolute best in any of the sectors. We've actually got different people, Lucas Stoltz, Arjun Maini and Thierry Vermeulen, who have all set bests in the 3 sectors, but the pole sitter is just being consistent across the lap. And this track, which is a tough track to tame, and particularly some of these corners which are quite unusual, Jack Aitken just hooking it all together. Here's a replay of what happened to Nicky Tim. It was into turn 1. You can see the car getting a swapper on, just clips the tyre barrier, but then the big impact came later on. We saw a similar impact to that and in the SSR garage, although lunch break has been postponed, I'm afraid, chaps. But we saw a similar thing yesterday at GT Masters practice as well. This is Max Powell into the hotel turn, that sweeping, unusual turn 2, just getting it wrong across the gravel trap and managed to avoid the barriers. So no problems for Powell Motorsport, apart from the fact of losing a lap, but no damage by the looks of things. Looks as though the splitter probably survived as well. But SSR Performance, they've got some work to do there.
Yeah, indeed so. So terrific qualifying session, all compacted really into 5 or 6 minutes of action. A 1:21.465, which was only just over 1/10 of a second away from the qualifying lap record set last year by Thomas Preining, is enough to put Jack Aitken to the very top of the times for Emil Frey Racing. Got on pole at the Lausitz-Ring last year. What did he do at the Lausitz-Ring? That's right, he was a race winner at the Lausitz-Ring. So Jack Aitken, great start to the season. He was certainly on the money here last year. Didn't get a great start from his front row grid last year, but he's, of course, since learned how to do that. That's the main thing, is to see that Nicky Tim is okay and out of the car, because that would have been a fairly heavy impact. But Nicky, who's the son, of course, of former DTM champion Kurt Tim, has been around this championship all of his life. Delighted to be here. Of course, he's under investigation for causing a red flag in qualifying, so it's unlikely he's going to keep that 5th place on the grid. There's his teammate Mirko Bortolotti. Thought he'd done enough for pole position. Still a really good effort, though, to be 2nd on the grid for Mirko, only beaten by the Ferrari.
Joe, interesting to see they've reset the clock to 3 minutes, so this session isn't over yet, so it looks like they're going to get the thing going. Personally, I can't see anybody beating Jack Aitken with 3 minutes remaining.
Confirmation that Nicky Tim is going to lose his fastest lap time. That's what happens if you cause the red flag. So from 5th to 13th he goes. Nicky sporting his new Viking-style beard, ferocious-looking figure, but what a quality driver he is, former Porsche Carrera champion. This is going to be his 3rd weekend as a DTM driver. A few years ago, he did a couple of rounds at the start of the season for what became the ill-fated T3 Motorsport team, but he's with a terrific team now, SSR Performance. Of course, first came into the DTM running Porsches, but then switched to Lamborghinis in their 2nd season last year. What's the damage looking like on this one then? Hopefully the tyre barrier absorbed a lot of the impact, but
it's the front that got it all, wasn't it? So
the rear wing looks a little bit detached as well, doesn't it? But they work miracles in the garages, these teams, and you think that car's never going to be out for the race, and quite often it is, and it looks like it's brand new. So
don't wreck it getting it back to the garage. That's the problem. They're doing a great job, this track staff, but manoeuvring and balancing one of these big cars, hanging it off the cherry picker and trying to get it back without bouncing it off anything else. You can see it's looking a little bit battle scarred. That looks just cosmetic from there, but it's the front corner that we're most worried about. Yeah, I mean, it's
aesthetically doesn't look too bad, but you never know what's going on, you know, with the wishbones and suspension and so forth underneath the skin. But it's the front left corner's taking the brunt of that. What about Arjun Maini, though? 3rd quickest, fantastic. His best grid all of last year was 10th, and he averaged 19th on the grid. That was his issue, really, the car in qualifying. The races, the pace got better as the season went on, but when you're starting that low down the field with such a good quality field of drivers, it's difficult to get any or many points out of it. But Arjun Maini, 3rd on the grid as it stands. But as Brian said, it's not necessarily over, although 3 minutes, you're going to eat up 2 of those just getting around to the start line. And can you get the tyres up to temperature quick enough? And also, if you're at the back of the queue leaving the pit lane, it's going to be tight whether you even get around and start a lap, isn't it?
Can I just say that 9/10 of a second, less than 9/10 of a second, separate the top 17 on the grid. That's how close it is. The top 19 separated by a smidgen over 1 second, and the entire field covered by 1.2 seconds. So, massive gaps between them there, aren't there? But some big names at the moment in the bottom half. The likes of Kelvin van der Linde in 12th, Thomas Preining in 16th. René Rast has been promoted to 9th on account of Nicky Tim's time being deleted, but that's further back than he was planning on when he got out of bed this morning. Can they do anything about it in 3 minutes? Well, it's a bit of a stretch. Somebody might be able to improve. I think it might be pretty frantic for those last 3 minutes amongst those drivers in the bottom 10.
The Audis looked a bit under pace yesterday, and certainly we heard some frustrations on the radio from Kelvin van der Linde in FP2 saying, come on, let's make a decision on the tyres. This is going nowhere fast. He's 12th. His teammate, Ricardo Fella, 3rd in the championship last year. He's in 4th place currently, so on for 2nd row of the grid. It looks like that's probably where he'll be. He's got a new race engineer, Ricardo Fella, this year. As we see, Lucas Stoltz clearly is not going to get back in the car. He's done for the day. He'll be happy with 5th on the grid. But Ricardo Fella, new race engineer at Abt Sportsline, which is Niels Henning, but it's not a new partnership because Niels was his race engineer in 2021 when Ricardo won the GT Masters Championship. There is a Ricardo Fella, a very amiable Swiss driver. Busy year last year with twin duties in this championship and GT World Challenge. He went, of course, incredibly well in both. And was the star of the Red Bull Ring, Ricardo Fella, when he went from 26th on the grid to finish in 3rd place, and had a mega battle throughout the closing laps with René Rast to fend him off. There is another mega driver in terms of race entertainment. He's just ahead of you now on the onboard camera, but we were on board with Lucas Auer, and his fellow Austrian, Thomas Preining, is right behind him as well. Looks like Sheldon van der Linde going back to the garage. Gloves are off, but the helmet's still on. Whether he's going to go back out or not, that is a 50-50 at the moment. But you think, well, is there any point? Can we improve any time, or are you just risking something and using the tyres up by going out? But 3 minutes do remain on the clock. They reset it. What was it down to? Less than
it was about
2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We saw Lucas Auer lined up to go out, so he's 8th at the moment. So clearly he is going to have another pop at it. I wouldn't expect anybody in the top 7 to be going back out again. Certainly not Lucas Stoltz, but the rest of them, you can see them queued up, ready to go. Yeah,
Marco Wittmann at the back of the queue. He definitely needs to go out because he's 19th at the moment. So 2014-2016 champion.
And Mauro Engel down in 17th. That's definitely not where he was planning on. There is Kelvin van der Linde as well. He's got a big step he needs to take from 12th place, and probably a lot of it is just keeping yourself mentally together as well, because there's Mirko Bortolotti out of the car. Looking a very nice new perm for this year. Yes, so the driver's keeping yourself together mentally and not allowing yourself to try too hard and to just lose the plot. And just when you've had your qualifying, you suddenly have got 3 minutes to do it all. That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Lorenz Frey Hilty of Emil Frey Racing has been saying they've been really pleased with all the development work they've done over the winter, because this was their first season with the Ferrari 296, the first season in DTM last year. But they were a race-winning team and podium as well, and good results for Thierry Vermeulen along the way. So it had its ups and downs last year. What Jack Aitken has said is that we've got to make more of our bad weekends. When we were good, we were really good. But when we hadn't quite got the car at its best, we weren't scoring points as often as we could. And you and I had this discussion this morning, Brian. We go through the list, and 12 different race winners last year. There's only been one season of DTM ever where there were more different race winners than there were in 2023. We had 10 different drivers on pole, and it looks like it could be the same this year. You go through the list, and you
yes.
can easily pick out 10 or 12 drivers that could be race winners.
So I think we will not make it to have 2 push laps, right? I can only try to build a gap and do 1 push lap, correct?
Yeah, Marco, for me is the way to go, to be honest, because it's 10 cars. If we try to push to get the 2 laps, we're going to be quite close. We're going to be fucking up the first one. I really prefer, I don't know if the others are going to join behind us or something, but to try to make our gap and make sure we can get 1 lap without traffic.
Interesting that. So apologies for the choice language there from our live transmission, but Marco Wittmann just asking the question, should we really go for it on 2 laps to try and squeeze a third in? And his race engineer saying, no, it's going to be tight, and if you push too much, you know, the way you get the tyres up to temperature is too rough and ready. It's going to mess up your one good chance. So don't try and go mad. Just try and get 1 lap in and try to improve. But you won't get 2 post laps. René Rast gets out of the car. Sheldon van der Linde looks like he's not going to go anywhere. So it looks like it's going to be just one of the Schubert Motorsport BMWs that goes out for the resumption of qualifying. Nicky Tim heads back.
Interesting that Jack Aitken's still in the car, so he clearly thinks his pole position might be under threat, and so he's staying in there, even though many of the drivers around him are not.
Just likes driving, I think.
That's it.
Just wants another go.
Give me more.
Yeah, he's got a great form this weekend, Jack. Hopefully he had a good night's sleep as well, because I was speaking to him yesterday, and of course, as I mentioned, he's racing in the IMSA Sports Car Championship, as he did last year, but he's not got a race in IMSA until mid-May, but he was out at Laguna Seca testing a few days ago and came back just before the start of this weekend, and is suffering, or was suffering, with jet lag.
Any idea how much longer the break is going to be?
Yeah, it seems like we are going to restart in around 4 minutes. Restarting in 4 minutes is the estimation.
Well, make that 3.5 because that was a delayed transmission. So
11:14, the scheduled restart time. Thomas Preining, you know, was the only driver last season to finish in the points in every single race, all 16 races. Ricardo Feller almost did it, but had 1 result out of the points. But it goes back to the point I was saying, Brian, about so many different race winners. It's hard to say any one driver winning more than 2 or 3 races this year. If they've got 6 or 7 drivers sharing out the wins, if you can be one of those drivers, but you can also maximise those weekends where you're not fighting for a victory, and you can keep picking up top 6 finishes and be consistent, that could be the way to win the championship this year.
Yes, it was a conversation we were having at breakfast, wasn't it? That it is consistency. I think that a DNF will hurt a driver more this year than it has done in any other season. And I think back to GT Masters, I think it was 21, when Lucas Stoltz and Mauro Engel were driving together, and they almost won the title without winning a race. It was consistency that got them to the top of the standings, and in fact they didn't win the title that year, but it was very, very close. Drivers need to finish in the points in every race, and Thomas Preining, well, he was the case proven last year, because Mirko Bortolotti won more races, didn't he? But it was Thomas Preining who took the championship.
Yeah, three apiece they won in the end due to the double at Hockenheim from Thomas Preining. The perfect weekend at Hockenheim, 2 poles, 2 wins. That's also an interesting point, though, isn't it? Qualifying. Points available in qualifying, of course. 3 points for pole, 2 for second and 1 for third. They add up, and if it's that tight in the championship, that could be the difference. Now, last year, guess who was the top scorer in terms of qualifying points? That's right, Thomas Preining. How many did he score? 17 points from qualifying. Well, 16 points you get for finishing third in a race. So it's a free podium finish, essentially, that you're getting. And that could be the difference at the end of the season as well. So these, not just in terms of setting the grid for the race, but adding up the points. Good to see Maximilian Powell is okay. He would be, as you said, he went through the gravel trap. Thankfully, there's a nice big wide runoff area of grass after that, so he never got to the barriers. But Maximilian Powell, of course, was one of our 12 different race winners last year. Had a guest drive at the Red Bull Ring a couple of years ago in DTM, but had a couple of guest drives last year, so it's only his 4th weekend. But he's been saying, look, I've never really had the chance to prove myself in DTM at the top level. I think this is where the top level is in terms of GT3 drivers in the world. And without any hint of arrogance, he said, look, I think I'm one of the best. I'd like to be up there competing with them. I think I can do it. So it's great to see him out here, and he certainly, if it's the right word, shone at the Nürburgring last year, because it was a very dull, wet day. But he went from 13th on the grid in the wet to take the victory for the Grasser Racing team. So 14th place, not ideal. He's gone off the road, so he's going to have to start in the middle of the pack. But he's a worthy addition to the grid, isn't he?
He is. I've had the privilege of talking about him for the last few years. He has always shone in whatever he has driven. Right, Mauro Engel is on the blower by the sound of things.
And again, if you are able to improve 4 tenths, we are in the top 10. If you are able to improve 4 tenths, we are in the top 10.
Just that much.
That's it, though, isn't it? It's for these guys like Wittmann and Engel just trying to get another lap in. They've got no you know, illusions of grandeur. They're not going to be going for pole position, but if they can nip a few tenths of a second off, instead of being at the back of the grid, they could be in the middle of the pack. Could give them a much better chance come the race.
Jack Aitken would be very happy if things remain as they are, because not only will he be on pole position, he'll also be the championship leader. Very much like that going into the first race of the season.
End the championship now.
Stop
Jack.
now.
That'll do. Right then, here we go. Not many of them, but it's going to be interesting, this. It's just how much can they improve. I tell you what, some quick drive. We've not got many drivers going on the track for this final 3 minutes, but we've got some blooming good ones, haven't we? Maro Engel is out there, Kelvin van der Linde, Lucas Auer, Thomas Priding, the champion, who is back in 16th place in this session at the moment. Thierry Vermeulen will be hoping to improve from 11th as well. The sister car is on provisional pole. Thierry has been in and around the top 6 all weekend so far in the practice session, so let's see what he can do as well.
I make it 10 cars out on track. The outlap is going to have to be a pretty hard outlap. No cruising around here. They're going to need to get the heat in quick and get straight into the push lap, aren't they?
Yeah, so just going into turn 4, triple as it's called, so that it's almost one bend, but it's kind of a 3 apex triple left-hander, is Jack Aitken, who's on provisional pole. So he's the most interesting one that's gone out there, just to make sure. Who's behind him? Number 11, the BMW of Marco Wittmann. Now, we heard Marco and his engineer having a conversation, say, let's not try and go crazy and try and squeeze the second lap in. Let's just warm the tyres up properly and go for one push lap, but make sure you've got no traffic. So I think he's just hanging back a bit, and he's just coming out of turn 10. He's the next one behind Jack Aitken, and the last one to start a flying lap will be Ben Durr in the 25 McLaren. Right then, so already, look, they've already got back to the start-finish line, and there's only a minute and 20 seconds or less to go. So a minute 21 to get around. Even that driver right at the front, I don't think he's going to squeeze another lap in. The first one is Maro Engel.
Yes.
Oh! Lucas Auer, straight on, that's turn 2 through the gravel trap. He ain't going to improve, I'm afraid. He's in 8th place. That's 8th at best then, because that's his one chance to improve his lap. Just ahead of him as well, I think that was Ayen Nguyen running wide, but not too bad, onto the grass on the run up to turn 3. So Lucas Auer will bail for the pits on this lap. Any mega first sectors going to come up? Well, not really yet is the answer. No.
No. You can see how hard they are all pushing. We had, what, 3 different cars there, all going wide, all kicking up the dirt on tyres that are not really in the window, especially at the moment. So people are pushing very hard at the moment. You can see from the graphic on your screen, Maro Engel and Kelvin van der Linde, well, neither of them have improved. Neither has Thomas Priding. So things very much as you were. 15 seconds remaining, so drivers that are on this lap, when the clock strikes 0, the lap will still count when they finish this lap, but there'll be no more after that.
No personal best sectors so far for any of the drivers, so unless they have a mega third sector, it's unlikely we're going to see anything in the way of improvements. Maro Engel goes over the line. He's the first to see the checkered flag. His lap time, a 1:25.1, which is 3 seconds off his best pace, so it was all for nothing in the end, going back out, really. Had to try, I suppose. If they'd had one more lap, they'd had another 10 or 15 seconds. Might have been a different story, but it doesn't look like anybody is going to improve. Jack Aitken didn't even really hit me back right off. He's not even finished that first lap yet, so he didn't need to, though, because Jack Aitken is on pole position. The Emile Frey Racing Ferrari is on pole position. We welcomed Jack Aitken to the championship this time last year. He stuck it on the front row of the grid second, got even better this time around. And you can see the smile in the eyes. He's just enjoyed a lovely cruise around the 3.6 kilometres of Oschersleben there. He didn't need to improve. Nobody was ever going to get close to that on the resumption, but he went round anyway. So let's have a look at this. Ooh, wild moment there for Jack Aitken. Dirtied the tyres of the Ferrari. Pushing on, but Jack Aitken nailed the lap he needed to nail. There, look at him wrestling away at the wheel as he just put a wheel over the curbs. It was wide-eyed in free practice when we saw that on board yesterday. This was what we saw Maro Engel pushing on to try and find pace as well, but ultimately running wide. That was just in the background of the shot initially, and that was turn 2. Sort of innocuous turn that. It's been catching them all out, and then Lucas Auer properly went off into the gravel trap, and that ruined any chances he had to improve. So he is going to remain on the 4th row of the grid. Apart from Farage and Mine, a bit disappointing for the Mercedes, who went really well yesterday. Oh dear, Lucas Auer raised his hand and says, oh, what's happened. Just no grit there for him. But that's the difficulty of trying to go for it on the one lap that you got. Had to go for it, had no choice really, but would have ideally liked another warm-up lap then to go for it, but the time was against them. Out of the car, he gets then your pole sitter for the opening round of DTM 2024 is Jack Aitken. Calmly, coolly gets out of the car, and the British driver now stands on the scales to be weighed, get the formalities out of the way, and then no doubt we'll head back to see the team and to celebrate. Confirmation then of Jack Aitken putting the Ferrari on pole position for the first round of the season. Mirko Bortolotti, who was the runner-up in the championship last year, second, a joint best qualifying in his fourth year of DTM for Arjamani in third. Ricardo Feller third in the championship last year, fourth. There he is again, Lucas Stoltz in fifth. Sheldon van der Linde, pretty good start for him as well in sixth. Christian Engelhardt, Lucas Auer, Rene Rast and Luca Engstler in the top 10 as well. Terrific job that from Luca Engstler to put his Lamborghini in the top 10 and within half a second of pole. Thierry Vermeulen 11th. Kelvin van der Linde will be frustrated with 12th. Nicky Tim went 5th quickest but lost the best lap time in his set because he caused the red flag, so that puts him back to 13th. Maximilian Powell went off the road as well, 14th. Clement Schmidt, 15th. Thomas Preining, the defending champion, back in 16th place. Maro Engel, who was quickest yesterday in free practice, one back in 17th. Ayanjan Guan, Marco Wittmann and Ben Durr rounding out the 20-car lineup for what's going to be the first hour-long race of the season to come. So there is Lucas Auer, not looking particularly delighted with the world, but 8th place could have been worse. And he heads back now to the garage. Thierry Vermeulen is with thoughts as well that what might have been, but Arjamani will be very pleased with third place. Probably, being a racing driver, he'll be saying, well, pole would have been nice though, because I think he definitely had the opportunity to do it, but third place, a great effort from the Indian driver. Good to see him back up there. One of the more experienced GT drivers in the field these days is Argent, despite his young years. And there is Jack Aitken, all smiles after securing pole position. The jet lag has gone, he's wide awake, and he's up for trying to get his second DTM victory if he can. Do not rule that man out of being in the championship fight this year either. Add him to the list. He was already on the list, Jack Aitken. Good enough, of course, to be a Formula One reserve and development driver for a number of years. And a Grand Prix racer as well, the one race, the Bahrain Grand Prix, and has carved out an exceptional career in GT racing. He's currently up there in third place in the IMSA Sports Car World Championship after 2 podiums from the first 3 races. We can go on board with Jack then from his flying lap, the lap that got him pole position by 1/10 of a second. On board with the Ferrari as it goes to around about 240 kilometres an hour, hits the brake, slows down for turn 1. And then it's straight to this tricky turn 2. Understeer is always an issue there. Out through the hotel curve he goes, and on his way to pole position. So that's it from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley, in the commentary box. Let's head back down to the pit lane and Verena Vries.
And I'm here with a pole setter, the first pole setter of the season, Jack Aitken. Just joking about your hair. I think your hair looks fantastic. And I mean, nothing to worry about because it's a fantastic start into the new season as a pole setter.
Yeah, I mean, I was joking yesterday to some guys that, you know, last year we started really strong with second in the first quali. And for sure we know the car a little bit better now, and we went one better. We got the pole position straight away, so really happy to have my second pole in DTM. And you know, it's super important in this track because overtaking really difficult. So no, I was really happy with the lap. Yeah.
All right, so maybe you can go from pole setter to win, and then I get to cut your hair, okay?
Deal, yes.
All right, deal. So cross your fingers for Jack. All right, then. So that's the first qualifying of the season. And yeah, let's cross our fingers for a very exciting race. I'm sure it's going to be that. So see you later on. Here are the highlights. Enjoy.